Iran refutes Trump's claim on ceasefire. US bans WhatsApp service from all House of Representatives devices. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Shuhaida Arifin and you're watching World Today. United States President Donald Trump claimed on his social media account that a complete and total ceasefire between Israel and Iran will come into force with a view to end conflict between the two nations. However, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi refuted Trump's statement, stating that as of now, there's no agreement on any ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Trump on Truth social media platform said that the ceasefire would bring an official end to war, a major change in the hostilities that follows the United States strike over the weekend on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. He noted that Iran will start the ceasefire upon the 12th hour, while Israel will start the ceasefire upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12 days war. Trump also said that during the ceasefire, Israel and Iran will remain peaceful and respectful. However, Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi said if the Israeli regime stops its illegal aggression against the Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, they have no intention to continue response afterwards. Araghchi also stated that the final decision on the cessation of military operations will be made later. However, as of now, there is no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations by Iran. Earlier, the Pentagon confirmed that a key air base in Qatar came under attack from missiles launched from Iran as fears of regional escalation continue to mount following U.S. airstrikes on 3 key nuclear facilities over the weekend. At this time, there are no reports of U.S. casualties. Pentagon said they will be monitoring this situation closely and will provide more information as it becomes available. Al Udeid is the largest American military base in the Middle East. The sprawling facility serves as the in-region headquarters for U.S. Central Command. The Iranian missile attacks came after U.S. strikes on key Iranian nuclear sites early Sunday morning, ordered by President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the Iranian military said the attack was devastating and powerful, but U.S. officials said no U.S. personnel were killed or injured in the attack on the air base. Iran has launched 6 missiles at U.S. bases in Qatar. Qatar has reopened its airspace after closing it earlier in anticipating of retaliatory attacks by Iran on a U.S. air base in Doha. The Qatari officials announced the air travel in the country would resume as normal. Earlier, Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it was closing its airspace to ensure the safety of residents and visitors. The ministries added the safety and security of everyone in Qatar remains a top priority. The U.S. Embassy in Qatar suggested in a notice online that Americans should shelter in place until further notice. The warning came ahead of a missile attack by Iran on Al Udeid Air Base, which serves as the headquarters for U.S. Central Command's air operations in the Middle East. Earlier, other countries in the region, including Bahrain and Kuwait, had temporarily closed their airspace out of precaution. Tehran's air defense system was activated to intercept incoming targets as Israel launched its most extensive attacks on the Iranian capital since the latest conflict began. Footage captured by China's Central Television showed explosions in the night sky as the air defense system engaged incoming missiles. Earlier that day, a spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces said in a statement that Israeli strikes targeted the Tharallah base of Iran's Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, which is responsible for defending Tehran, as well as the headquarters of the Iranian Basij militia. In the afternoon, locations across Tehran were hit, leading to power outages in some northern areas. The Israeli attacks involved 50 jets and more than 100 munitions, focused on the northern, central and western regions of the city. Local activities appear to be continuing as normal in the small town of Fordo in Iran's Qom province, the location of the Fordo nuclear facility, which was bombarded by U.S. airstrikes on Monday. Traffic and businesses carry on in the town despite the heightened tensions amid the escalating conflict with Israel and claims of heavy damage from U.S. strikes, which hit hours before. Daily life proceeds normally in Fordo with no visible signs of public panic or evacuations, nor any mass concerns about radiation leaks among local residents. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump announced via social media that American forces had successfully struck 3 of Iran's key nuclear sites, Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan. The move, reportedly carried out in coordination with Israeli forces, marked a dramatic escalation in long-standing tensions over Iran's nuclear program. The aftermath of the U.S. military attack on Iranian nuclear sites has sparked international controversy, and though Iranian officials have disputed the extent of the damage, serious concern has been raised by the global nuclear experts. Iranian lawmaker Mohammad Manan Raisi stated the Fordo nuclear facility was not significantly damaged, and most of what was affected was only on the surface, which can be restored. Large crowds of Palestinians gathered around 8 trucks to get food in Gaza's Beit Lahia amid extensive damage to buildings and infrastructure and severe food shortages. In the past days, dozens of Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire as they tried to get food from 8 trucks brought into the enclave by the United Nations and international relief agencies. People were seen climbing on and around 8 trucks while others walked or stood near the site. Several wounded were carried away from the area, and some families, including children, were transported using animal-drawn carts. European Union's top diplomat said Kaja Kallas said she would take up concerns over suspected human rights breach by Israel with its government, as talks in Brussels underscored divisions within the bloc over how to influence Israeli actions in Gaza. The European Union's diplomatic service said there were indications that Israel had breached its human rights obligations under the terms of a pact governing its ties with the bloc. The report includes a section dedicated to the situation in Gaza, covering issues related to denial of humanitarian aid, attacks on hospitals and medical facilities, displacement, and lack of accountability. Liberal Ilie Boloyan was sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Romania on Monday in Bucharest. Boloyan won a parliamentary confidence vote on Monday, ending months of political deadlock with a coalition government that aims to lower the EU's highest budget deficit to avoid losing its investment-grade credit rating. The European Union and NATO states have been rocked by political instability, with market turmoil boosting borrowing costs and crashing the LEU currency. Boloyan's nomination to the head broad pro-European coalition government by centrist resident Nicolae Dan comes after a month of political wrangling over the fiscal measures needed to lower the deficit. While the coalition will have broad support, its endurance will depend on unpopular tax hikes and whether the 4 parties enforce agreed cuts to state spending. The leaders of the 4 parties agreed to rotate prime ministers before a 2028 parliamentary election, with Boloyan swapping with a leftist Social Democrat in April 2027. The Social Democrats are Romania's largest party, and a ruling majority cannot be achieved without them. But the PM rotation could be a destabilizing step as policies and positions are reassessed. Volodymyr Zelensky and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced a new defense co-production initiative on Monday during a short visit by the Ukrainian president to London to discuss his country's defense against Russia. The two leaders announced the deal in the garden of Starmer's Downing Street residence, where they also met Ukrainian troops being trained in Britain.
And I'm really proud that this afternoon we're able to announce an industrial military co-production agreement, the first of its kind so far as Ukraine and the UK are concerned, which will be a massive step forward now in the contribution that we can continue to make, and is really a symbol of not only our joint work in this conflict, but the 100-year agreement that we've put in place.
Thank you.
Starmer did not provide further details on the agreement. However, Zelensky said it would help strengthen both nations. Speaking alongside Starmer, the Ukrainian president thanked Britain for its support in the war against Russia.
I'm very thankful to
Meta Platforms' WhatsApp messaging service has been banned from all U.S. House of Representatives devices. The memo that sent to all House staff stated the Office of Cybersecurity has deemed WhatsApp a high risk to users due to the lack of transparency in how it protects user data, absence of stored data encryption, and potential security risk involved with its use. The memo from the Chief Administrative Officer recommended using other messaging apps, including Microsoft Corp's Teams platforms, Apple's iMessage and FaceTime. Meta disagreed with the move in the strongest possible terms, a company spokesperson said, noting that the platform provides a higher level of security than the other approved apps. In January, a WhatsApp official said Israeli spyware company Paragon Solutions had targeted scores of its users, including journalists and members of civil society. The House has banned other apps from staff devices in the past, including the short video app TikTok in 2022, due to security issues. Seven soldiers rescued after being kidnapped in southwest Colombia. Stay tuned.
Menggosok baju sekaligus boleh menjimatkan elektrik.
Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadilah Yusof held a bilateral meeting with Uzbekistan's Deputy Prime Minister Jamshid Kucharov and Minister of Energy Jurabek Mirza Makhmudov. The meeting was held during his official working visit to the Republic. Datuk Seri Fadilah, who is also the Minister of Energy Transition and Water Transformation, was accompanied by Deputy Foreign Minister, Malaysian Ambassador to Uzbekistan, and Deputy Secretarial General of the Ministry of Energy Transition and Water Transformation. Datuk Seri Fadilah spent about 30 minutes in the meeting with Kucharov, who is also Uzbekistan's Minister of Economy and Finance, discussing several high-potential sectors for cooperation, such as energy, tourism and education. He also held discussions with Minister of Energy. In addition to exploring the potential for cooperation in the development of smart grid systems with exchange of expertise and technical training, both parties reiterated their intention to exchange collaboration in these areas. Datuk Seri Fadilah and his delegation will be in Uzbekistan until today before continuing their working visit to Russia until 28 June. The Colombian army and police rescued 57 soldiers held for 2 days in a mountainous southwest region that is under pressure from leftist guerrilla. The troops were detained near the village of El Platido in Cauca province, a strategic area for drug trafficking, where security forces launched an operation in October 2024 to expel illegal armed groups. The region is a stronghold of a dissident faction of the former FARC guerrilla group, which rejected a 2016 peace deal. Authorities accuse the group of recruiting minors and pressuring civilians to resist the presence of state forces. Earlier, 31 soldiers were seized on Saturday, while the rest were abducted on Sunday by a group of more than 200 people. The military says the civilians are acting under pressure from dissidents of the FARC rebel group, which agreed a peace deal with the government in 2016. The mountainous region is a key zone for cocaine production and remains one of the most tense in the country's ongoing conflict with rebel groups. A Bangladesh court on Monday remanded in custody the former elections chief for his alleged role in rigging the vote in favor of now ousted autocrat Sheikh Hasina. KM Nurul Huda, 77, who was ordered to be detained for 4 days while questioning continues, a day after a mob who smashed into his home and assaulted him eventually handed him to the police. On Sunday, the powerful Bangladesh Nationalist Party BNP filed a case against Huda and other former election commissioners it accuses of rigging past polls in favor of Hasina. Hours after the case was filed, a mob stormed Huda's home in the capital of Dhaka and dragged him into the street. They put a garland of shoes around his neck and beat him up before handing him over to the police. The interim government condemned the incident and urged people not to take the law into their own hands. Interim leader Muhammad Yunus has said election will be held in early April 2026, the first in the South Asian nation of around 170 million people since the student-led revolt ousted Hasina. Yunus's government said that holding election by mid-2026 would give them time to overhaul democratic institutions. Hasina, 77, remains in self-imposed exile in India as she defied orders from return to Dhaka to face charges amounting to crimes against humanity. Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra said on Monday that her government would take a harder line against Cambodia. She announced measures to counter what she said were illicit activities, citing the proliferation of illegal online scam centers in the region.
ในเรื่องของการส่งออกไฟฟ้าน้ำมันและสินค้าผ่านชายแดนค่ะเราต้องระงับส่งออกสินค้าที่เกื้อหนุนนะคะต่อกิจกรรมของกลุ่มอาชญากรรมข้ามชาติค่ะโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งนะคะพิจารณาถึงความเหมาะสมในการระงับการส่งออกน้ำมันแล้วก็เชื้อเพลิงไปยังกัมพูชาที่จะนำเอาไปใช้ในกิจกรรมที่ผิดกฎหมายต่างๆค่ะ
She also said that the operating hours of the checkpoints across all 7 provinces in Thailand will be limited. Vehicles and non-essential individuals will be prohibited from crossing, with exceptions made for essential cases such as students who need to attend school or university or patients requiring hospital services. Tensions between Thailand and Cambodia remain elevated, with the Southeast Asian countries announcing tit-for-tat measures that are stoking nationalist fervor on both sides and stymieing bilateral trade. El Salvador's naval forces seized 6.3 tons of cocaine and arrested 17 suspected drug traffickers in unprecedented operations carried out between 2nd and 10th June in the Pacific Ocean. In 4 operations conducted nearly 1,000 nautical miles off El Salvador's coast, 5 vessels were intercepted as drugs with a commercial value of $157.4 million were being transported. In total, 10 Ecuadorians, 3 Guatemalans, 3 Mexicans, and 1 Colombian were arrested. The first operation resulted in the arrest of 3 Ecuadorians transporting 1,420 kilograms of cocaine on a vessel. In a second operation in the same area, another vessel was found with 3 Ecuadorians carrying 1,650 kilograms of cocaine. In the third operation, 2 more vessels carrying 1,630 kilograms of cocaine were intercepted. In the fourth operation, Salvadoran naval forces arrested 3 Guatemalans and 2 Ecuadorians on the fifth vessel carrying 1,600 kilograms of cocaine. According to Salvadoran government, a total of 27.2 tons of drugs have been seized in 2024, valued at approximately $681.1 million. Central American countries are used as a bridge for drugs coming from South America, mainly Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, with the United States as the final destination. Bug hands over IOC President Key to predecessor Coventry. More about that in our sports segment.
Tutup tingkap dan pintu untuk kekal dingin dan lebih jimat.
Kicking off our sports segment this afternoon, European champions Paris Saint-Germain marched on to the knockout stage of the Club World Cup from Group G with a 2-0 victory over host Seattle Sounders on Monday. With the result, PSG finished first in Group B with 6 points from 3 games. The Liga are winners who suffered a shock defeat by Botafogo. In another match, Brazilian side Botafogo booked their place in the last 16 of the Club World Cup on Monday, despite a 1-0 defeat to Atletico Madrid. Atletico, routed 4-0 by Paris Saint-Germain in the opening game, went into the final round of Group B fixtures, knowing they would likely need a big win to advance. However, it was not likely the case. In tennis, French Open finalists Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner head to Wimbledon at the end of the month as the clear front-runners, with the Italian world number 1 hoping to avenge his tough loss in Paris earlier this month. Spain's Alcaraz is looking to win his 3rd Wimbledon title in a row, while Sinner, the top seed at the tournament, has yet to win a Wimbledon title. Bookies have placed both Alcaraz and Sinner chances to win the tournament at odds of 2.5. Serbia's all-time great Novak Djokovic has the 3rd highest odds, with the up-and-coming British star Jack Draper having the 4th best odds. The last British winner of the men's tournament was Scotsman Andy Murray in 2016. In the women's singles, Belarusian world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka is the early bookies' favourite to clinch the title this summer, ahead of Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff and Iga Swiatek. Sabalenka, with 3 Grand Slams to her name, has yet to make the final of a Wimbledon tournament, falling in the semi-finals in 2021 and 2023. Former Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina and American world number 2 Coco Gauff have the 2nd and 3rd best odds in the run-up to the grass court tournament. Gauff comes in with high confidence after securing her maiden French Open title, though the 21-year-old American has thus far struggled at Wimbledon, exiting in the 4th round on 3 separate occasions. 5-time Grand Slam winner Poland's Iga Swiatek has never made it past the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, but comes in with the 4th best odds to clinch the title. Kirsty Coventry became the new president of the International Olympic Committee (IOC), the most powerful person in sport, on Monday in a handover ceremony with her predecessor Thomas Bach. The Zimbabwean is the first woman and African to head the body, and at 41, the youngest since Baron Pierre de Coubertin. Bach officially handed over the key to Coventry in a ceremony in Lausanne, ending a turbulent 12-year tenure under him. He expressed his confidence that the Olympic movement was in the best of hands and Coventry would bring conviction, integrity and a dynamic perspective to the role. Coventry swept it to a crushing first-round victory in the election in Greece in March.
I am really honoured that I get to walk this journey with you, and I cannot wait for anything that lies ahead because I know I have the best team to support me and our movement in these next 8 years. Thank you so much for being here with all of us today, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for the next 8 years as we take on this journey. Thank you.
Coventry, who served in the Zimbabwean government as a Sports and Arts Minister from 2019 to this year, said the Olympic movement was much more than a multi-sport event platform. It is also a beacon of hope, inspiring and changing lives.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat.
76 minit tanpa henti.
76 minutes non-stop. Transparent and concise.
Paparan komprehensif, ringkas dan padat. Saksikan Kanta 744, 7.44 malam. Berita perdana 8 malam.
Malaysia Tonight, 8:30 p.m.
And that wraps up our bulletin this afternoon. In our top story, Iran says no ceasefire in the war so far. Do join us again this evening at 8:30 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM and TV1, or you can stream us live on RTM Clicks website and mobile app. Till then, I'm Shuhaida Arifin, Malaysia Madani Rakyat Disantuni. Goodbye and thank you for watching.